Welcome everyone to my channel. Today I present to you a new series based on the camping nightmare Lost in the Woods, the story I wrote that featured Cyrus the Bigfoot. This new 4-part series tells a story about his life from the perspective of Bigfoot, his ups and downs, struggles and triumphs, and him discovering who he really is. There is so much we don't know about these creatures. So this series is intended to let our imagination see things from their perspective, and just maybe, how they might perceive life and our world we share. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel, share, and give this a thumbs up. Please enjoy episode 1 as we get right into it. My name is Cyrus. I am what humans call a Sasquatch, Yeti, or Bigfoot. We don't call ourselves that, but that is what humans like to call us. We don't generally classify ourselves in any way, because we all try to live together and work together to survive. Though, like most cultures and society structures, there are bad seeds, kind of like my former best friend, Thadden, but I'll get to him later. I was born 750 moons ago in the mountains of cloud and trees. Humans call it the Great Smoky Mountains. I don't remember much of my young times for some reason, but my parents don't talk about it at all. I've asked, and they tell me that my memory is bad, and there's nothing to talk about. Life has been hard since I have reached my full-grown times. You see, the leader of our territory is Yunan. He has a very powerful and dominating presence in our family group and entire territory, and he happens to be my father. Each territory can be made up of dozens of family groups. He is very, very strict on keeping ourselves hidden from humans, as are all the other territory leaders all over the earth. The teaching among us is that humans are only out to harm us, and we must hide and get away from them at all costs. We do not like violence, and humans are a very violent creature. All life is very precious to us forest creatures. Sometimes we must defend ourselves in our family group, and we do have to lash out at them. But that's rare. One reason my father particularly dislikes humans so much is because of what happened to his brother. My father was born in the northern forest that covers the land where wheat and pumpkins grow. His brother confronted a supposedly bad human that was trying to take the life of more forest creatures. The human fought him, and he was bitten badly by the human's metal weapons. His life ended a little later, while my father was still in his young times. So he left there when he was of age, and came here and started his own dwelling land. I am currently youngest of our family group, and the youngest in our territory, so most others treat me as such. Especially my older brother Zenek. He is Mr. Perfect and always does everything perfect according to everyone, especially the females. He is 300 moons older than I am, and thinks that because he will inherit the position of leader, that he is somebody important now. See, we are not allowed to leave the family group until we are 800 moons old. I guess the leaders feel that younger ones are too curious and get into too much trouble. I guess that is true because I've seen other ones just a little older than me get into really big trouble constantly. Anyway, I am almost old enough to get my own dwelling land in the territory and pursue starting my own family unit. My father Yunan is a little over 12,000 moons old, but is still a very vibrant male. My mother's name is Sorma, and she is just under 12,000 moons old. She is so loving and understands my frustration with living in my father and brother's shadow. I can talk to her about how I feel, and she really listens to me. She always tells me that I am special, and one day I might change the earth and the way things are. I know she's only trying to make me feel better and cheer me up. But I did something several moons ago that rocked my family group and whole territory's world. Let me tell you about it. I was walking along the ridge at the edge of my family's dwelling land. I heard very loud noises coming from a path that humans put leading to one of their shelters. It sounded like strange growls. I went to investigate, and it was 2 humans inside of their loud rolling cages. We see humans in them all the time when we cross the large stone paths they put through the forest everywhere. They usually move very fast in them, but this one got stuck on a rock. I hid near some bushes and watched them, and they stayed inside and slept the whole night. I spent the night there as well to see what they would do. The next morning, the small human male got out and marked the pathway, and then went up the path all the way to their shelter. I've never seen humans this up close before. I went up behind them and started observing them at a distance. It was all so interesting. They went inside their dwelling, and it was completely silent. After half the daylight passed, they both came out and started walking around through the woods. I didn't follow them just in case they saw me. A little later, they came back and went back inside. There was nothing for a while after dark, so I went back to my den. I returned 3 moons later to see what they were doing. As I approached the shelter, I looked inside, and they were sleeping. I've never seen humans sleeping before. I got nervous, so I went to leave. As I did, I stepped on some fallen limbs, and they broke. I paused because I knew I made noise, so I squatted down and froze. Sure enough, almost immediately, a light came from the shelter. I knew I was busted because it shone right over me. But it kept going and then turned off. I stayed squatted down for a while, and then, when I thought it was clear, I ran for it. I went back to my den and slept. The next day I went down to the river, where we cultivate our berries and vegetation. Down in the distance I hear humans yelling. I carefully went down to see what was happening, and it was the same humans I saw earlier at their shelter. They were not far from my den now. The female was in the water and the male was helping her out. They got back onto the land and made fire. It was the strangest thing I've ever seen. They took off their outer skins and hung them up to dry while they sat by the fire. The bundle that the female was carrying when she went in the water floated by me, and I grabbed it. I took it back to my den to investigate what was inside. My mother immediately came inside and said she smelled human scent. She grabbed the bundle and immediately ripped it out of my hands and said my father must never see this or know this was here. She went away with it to dispose of it. That really frustrated me, so I left to go for a walk. As I was leaving, Zinnik yelled out to me to watch out because the rogue cougar was back in the area and even crazier than before. See, our father led the peaceful outcome of a bad territory dispute among the creatures in the forest, and the cougars were to blame. Some among them felt that we were helping humans and vowed to kill humans if they saw them. The leader of the cougars acted quickly to kick out the rogue ones and restore peace. I went out for a long time to think and clear my head. It was well past dark when I saw some light several paces away in a little clearing in the trees. It looked like it was the same humans again. This time, they looked fearful. That's when I saw one of the cougars who vowed to kill humans. I knew those humans couldn't stop him because they are weak. The female was already on the ground, and the male was in distress. I thought to myself, these humans seem like peaceful creatures, nothing like what my father describes. That's when I saw the cougar charge the human male. I just reacted and ran full speed at the cougar. I let out a warning call for him to stop, but the cougar decided to attack instead of run away. He even looked at me and said, "You're next, Cyrus." So we fought. After I threw it off of me, I got up and it jumped at me again. And I knew this cougar wanted to just take any life, so I grabbed it in midair and slammed him into a tree and took the cougar's life. It was the only way to protect the humans and now myself. I dropped down to the ground to contemplate what just happened. I couldn't believe that I did that. Suddenly, the human female came up to me with something in her hand. My shoulder was injured from the cougar, and I let her stop the bleeding. It felt just like when Mother would tend to my wounds in my young times. These humans were absolutely nothing like the stories I heard all my life. They both came up to me to communicate. I thought I would have no idea what they were saying, but to my shock, I sort of understood what they said. They told me their names. I just sat there not believing what was happening. I saw that they drew their names in the dirt. Somehow it looked so familiar. I realized when I saw the writing that I knew how to write like them, but I didn't know why. I wrote out my name, Cyrus. Their eyes got very big, and they showed their teeth, but in a kind way. Suddenly, I hear from a distance my father yelling to me, "What are you doing, Cyrus? Get away from them!" I sort of snapped out of my state of mind and ran away. I ran all the way back to my den. A little later, my older brother came in and said Father wants me at the meeting tree immediately, and that Father was very angry. I went there and saw that all the older males from the territory were there, along with my father and brother. I was asked why I had let myself be seen and made communication with the humans. I told them that they were weak and peaceful creatures and were nothing like what I was told. I was told to be silent by another older one. I had enough of being pushed around and being made to be small. So I spoke up and yelled that I will not be quiet and I will speak as I please. At this point, my brother wanted to show off, so he grabbed me and threw me to the ground and told me I was never to speak that way to an older one again. I told Zinnik that he was not the leader of me and to never touch me again. He took it as a threat and directly challenged me to a fight. He was one head taller than me and older. He had the advantage. So as he swung at me, I managed to miss all but one punch. I then leaped up into the meeting tree, which we view as very important, and pulled down a branch and did what I saw the human male do. I swung it at him and struck him as hard as I could in the face, which knocked him out. My father rushed in yelling, "Enough!" and grabbed the branch trying to pull it from me. In my anger, I shoved the branch toward him, and it pierced his side. As he stood there in shock at what happened, all the other males gasped. My father looked at the blood on his hand, and then looked around, and then at me. He became furious. I knew my father was among the most powerful of the males, and I stood no chance against him. He told me that I broke the law of the forest. I made direct contact with humans, I took the life of a forest creature unnecessarily, and I used a weapon against my own kind. I was now banished from the family group and territory, and never allowed to return, or I would be ended. I had no dwelling land of my own, so my only choice was to wander as an outcast. I had no idea what I was going to do. I went back to my den and gathered my tools and left. My mother was mourning me as I left, but I couldn't even look at her. So I left and have gone to a part of the forest far away over the mountains, where any banished creatures go. That's where the Cougars live, numerous rogue bears, and my former best friend Thadden, along with several others. I guess I have to figure out what to do next when I come face to face with my now enemy, Thadden. Thank you everyone for listening and watching. My name is Matt. I hope you enjoyed my story. Your generosity and support is much appreciated, so please hit that subscribe button and like my video and share to your social media. I'll catch everyone in the next video.